Hi, I'm Mercedes Marassi, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a board certified behavior analyst. And I'm here today because I have a bone to pick with this generation and their overuse of the term trauma. What particularly grinds my gears is when I see these posts nowadays that are calling some sort of problem behavior a trauma response. Like, for example, do you procrastinate? That's a trauma response. No, it's not. It's not a trauma response. You see, like all of our behavior, maybe not all, but like almost all of our behavior is conditioned. And we are conditioned by both good and bad things. When we encounter something negative in the environment that causes our behavior to change, we might call this aversive conditioning. Trauma can be a form of aversive conditioning, but it's rare. And if in fact the problem behavior you were engaging in was a trauma response, there would be severe psychological effects. And so this might mean that you would have recurring panic attacks or nightmares or flashbacks or something like that. Anxiety, I hate to break it to you, anxiety is not considered a severe psychological reaction. In fact, for many of us therapists, we consider anxiety a condition for living, which basically means if you have a pulse and you're alive, then you're gonna feel anxious. Okay, so let me give you an example of this aversive conditioning stuff. Okay, let's say I have these candies. They're my favorite candies. I eat them all the time. One day when I eat these candies, I get a really bad one. And as a result, I never buy the candy again. I don't want the candy again. In fact, if a friend offers it to me, I'd be like, ew, gross. I don't want anything to do with that, right? Because they're aversive to me, but they're not traumatic. Right? It's not like when someone offers me the candy, I'm like, oh no, anything but that, right? That's ridiculous. So this is not traumatic, and it's not a trauma response if I avoid the candy. It's simply a response of aversive conditioning. You know what else I hate about the term trauma? Trauma is something that happens to you. There is no term for the undoing of trauma. There's no opposite of trauma. So trauma is almost like this static entity. It has some degree of like almost permanency, and we're just passive and helpless against it. But when we use the term conditioning, there's a clear antonym. Anything that is conditioned can be reconditioned. It can be unconditioned, or as we use in our field, we use the term desensitized. So looking at something as a behavior that has been conditioned gives us some degree of power because it indicates if it's been conditioned, it can be reconditioned, meaning we have the power to change it. So why not frame these behaviors as something that is within our control as opposed to some elusive phenomenon known as trauma? If you want to hear more about my approach to mental health, go ahead and click the link below, and thanks so much for joining me. I'm actually gonna have a candy.